Anybody here ever tried to do a webinar before? Anybody ever tried to run their own webinar? All right, I'm gonna tell you this many times. And I remember, some of us know this story, but for me, there was a time when I did a webinar and I had 0 people show up. Many times, actually, right? And I remember this one particular time that I went through. I said I'm gonna do this webinar, and I literally I was excited about it. I spent all my time creating the webinar. I wanted to make it perfect. I was doing my background. I was looking for the perfect picture. I was looking for the perfect slide, and I put 97% of my effort in creating the webinar. I need to promote. I need to get people on here. So I did what a majority of people do when they have a webinar that's coming up. Post it on their social media. And what I did was I posted it, bah, smack dab. It's on social media. All right, let the people show up. Let the people show up. The people gonna be showing up. I gotta have hundreds of people show up, right? I just posted a flyer. I told people about it on social media. So they're gonna show up, right? Well, I already gave you the spoiler alert. 0 people showed up, right? And I learned a lesson about that, because afterwards I said, I feel like I put a lot of energy into creating this, but I don't feel like I put enough energy into actually the promotion of it. And that's what we do. We tend to do a lot of times is we put so much time into the creation of things that we don't have enough energy, effort, or time to actually put into the promotion of the thing that we just created, right? More distribution equals higher contribution. Write that down. More distribution equals higher contribution. All right, so let's get into it. So number one, before we get into the traffic sources, write this down. You have to focus on the right messaging. Focus on the right messaging. So prior to this point, remember, this is number 3. This is part 3. In the first 2 parts, we talked about setup and we talked about, how to actually create the webinar. But when I say messaging, not necessarily what's on your landing page, which you're going to use that, but the actual communication that you're going to be how you're going to be telling people about it, that communication, the messaging and that communication. So write this down. I want you to emphasize different bullets per communication. Emphasize different bullets per communication. So, for example, if I'm doing a webinar, if I'm promoting a webinar, you typically, depending on what it is, like if you're doing a summit or if it's like a big event, you could promote that weeks in advance or even months in advance. But if you're doing like a webinar, you're just doing like a 1-hour webinar, you could promote a webinar in as little as 2 to 3 days before the event, because typically people forget if it's longer than that. Let's get into some traffic. Let's get into the traffic sources. So let's go through. So all of these are traffic sources. So let's go through what are the different types of traffic sources, the main types of traffic sources. There's others, but these are the main, especially in our industry. All right, so number one is current clients, right? Current clients. People underestimate the fact that they already have clients when they're promoting things, right? If you have a summit, for example, or a challenge, and you already have clients, you're already meeting with them every week. You're already talking to them every week. Why not invite them to the party? Right? So invite them to the party. Like, so if you have, anytime I'm coming up with something new, y'all are the first people that's on my mind. If I come up with like this was like a boot camp, or if I come up with a mastermind, or if I'm doing something, I'm gonna make sure y'all get first dibs on that. Right? So that's an easy way to get people a part of it. So if you're talking about your webinar, they might want to learn about it, right? Even if the end of the webinar is to sell your thing, don't underestimate the fact that your people already know it, or you think they already heard it or whatever. They still might want to learn. and they might invite somebody, or they might get a different distinction to help them get more progress, right? So that's really key. So your current clients. Number two, second traffic source. Remember we talked about distribution. All of these are distribution, right? So second is your, I'm just gonna put abbreviation, right? But your email slash text, your email list slash your text message list, email list slash your text message list. So earlier, Shay mentioned that she's been sending out emails, right? We did a session recently on how do you send out emails? What are the best way to send out emails? And I'm gonna tell you this, is that people think that, like, let's say if you attend a virtual event, you're like, wow, it's dozens of people on, or it's hundreds of people on. How are they doing that? Don't get it twisted. Unless they like Kim Kardashian and somebody, you're not just about to put out a post and get hundreds of people joining, right? How people are, how influencers are getting people to join their webinars is because they have some type of community. They have some type of list, a text message list. They have an email list. They have something that they're nurturing on an ongoing basis. So when they say I got a webinar, people sign up. All right, so that was 2 traffic sources we went through so far. All right, so traffic source number 3 is, I want you to pick your top 2 social media platforms. Top 2 social media platforms. Top 2 social media platforms. The reason I'm saying top 2 is because if you're not, if typically if you're doing more than that, you know, you can either A, get overwhelmed, or you're probably not managing more than 2 right now. Right. So if that's the case, but the more the merrier, but if you only have 2, like I would say at least try to have 2. So for me, it's Instagram and Facebook. If I wanted to open up another, lane, I can even do a YouTube video about it. Right. If I want to open up another lane, I could do Twitter. If I want to open up another lane, I could do TikTok. Oh, no, TikTok. Right. Like I could do that. Right. It's just about opening up different lanes, but I say at least do 2. Now, when it comes to that, what are, and now let me do this last one down here. Right. So when it comes to that, what are you posting on these social media platforms, or where? Let's talk about where to post for a second, or what should you, where and what should you be posting? So one, you want to post on your feed, on your main feed, right? Your feed, what's good to post on your feed is a flyer, right? And then typically I like to do some type of video on your feed, right? So you can do it like a flyer or video. When I post flyers, typically don't do that well on Instagram and on Facebook. You're not going to have a bunch of people that's going to go and like it. But however, what a flyer is going to do is it's going to generate awareness. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow people to see that you have activity. You want your audience to see that you're doing things. Like, you got to be doing stuff. Like, you want people to know, like, oh, okay, you're doing a webinar, you're doing this. Okay, maybe you're doing a virtual thing, you're speaking. People need to see activity. If they're not seeing activity, they're not. It's going to make them hard for them to want to binge watch you, and for them to want to keep up with what you have going on. Right? So that's very key. So on your feed, you can post flyers, you can post videos, which is good. Another thing you can post is you can post on your stories. So typically I'll do a story. So I'll do a story, something like, hey, yo, you know what? I'll teach like a point. I'll teach like a quick point and say, like, if you really like this, go ahead and register. I want you to click the link in my bio and register for a webinar that I have coming up on Thursday. You'll get some people who maybe they've seen, and this is where it starts getting fun, because you got people who are on your email, they follow you on different social media platforms. So maybe you sent out an email, they didn't sign up. Maybe they seen a text message, they didn't sign up. Maybe they saw it in your feed, they didn't sign up. But as soon as you posted in your stories, that was enough for them to click on the link and sign up. So that's key. That's very key. That this is why, because people have to see you everywhere. Like, yo, damn, they everywhere talking about this. It must be popping. It has to be. All right. So that's key. All right. So you got stories. You got stories. And then you also have DMs. So don't get it twisted. Like, send DMs. You want people to show up? Send a message directly to somebody's inbox. Preferably people that already follow you. Why is that important? Who knows why it's important when I'm saying send a DM? Don't just send it to don't send it to random people. Send it to people who are already following you. If you send a DM to somebody who does not follow you, is going to show up in their general DM box, meaning that's like showing up to your promotions tab. Some people check their promotions. Majority of people don't. That's almost like your spam. Yeah. People are not going to really see it. So you got something, Winnie's? Oh, okay. So it's important that if you want somebody to show up, like for real, start sending out DMs. Start sending out private messages. Okay, so that's key. And by the way, it's yeah, so that's Instagram, and then the same thing for Facebook. All right, and then you can also do, last but not least, live, right? So go live. Like that's an easy distribution. I go live. What do I do every day at 5 p.m.? Live at 5, right? So what live at 5 is, I go live every day at 5 p.m. Eastern. And by the way, I'll show it to you. Like this is actually on your calendar. If you're like, oh wow, when do you do it or how you do it or whatever, there's actually it's on our calendar. So I'll show you the PCS calendar after this. But I go live every day. And guess what? I'm live for like 15, 20 minutes and people tune in.